I got to dig these out because I want to make sure I get this one right. As a Chicagoan and as a journalist, it's a special pleasure for me to introduce to you our third inductee this year. Here's how much of an influence she has on the lives of LGBT people here in Chicago, and those of you who live here understand this. This year is the 20th anniversary of Tracy Baim's induction into the city of Chicago's Gay and Lesbian Hall of Fame. In one of those wacky coincidences that, you know, people study for years, this is also the 30th anniversary of her start as a journalist after her graduation from Drake University as an editorial assistant at Gay Life magazine back in 1984. And just a year after that, she founded an iconic publication for those of us in the LGBT community in Chicago, the Windy City Times, which is now published as part of a growing media company, the Windy City Media Group, Black Lions and La Vida, Night Spots, a number of other publications and websites. The company also is producing podcasts and video reports for its website and for YouTube. And a true example of how a company dedicated to the LGBT community can use so many different platforms and reach out to so many different audiences. Her decades-long involvement gives her a unique ability to chronicle the history of the independent gay press in this country, and her most recent book, Gay Press, Gay Power, does exactly that. Her support of community journalism has won her numerous accolades from this organization and others, including a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Chicago Headline Club, which is our SBJ chapter and the largest one in the country. That just happened this year, back in the spring. And her personal crusade on behalf of LGBT people of color is an example for this profession, especially in a deeply segregated city such as Chicago. Those of you who live there know exactly what I'm talking about. It's really been great to have her involved in the LGBT Media Summit this year and in past years. And for me, it's even better to introduce her to you. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in honoring and congratulating this year's third inductee into the LGBT Journalist Hall of Fame, Tracy Baim.
Can everybody see me over this? That's an ongoing joke. My father's always like, check the podium height before you. This is a terrific honor. As I mentioned last night at the women's reception, this is really a tribute to my mother, who never stayed in one place long enough to be honored for all the work she did in journalism. From covering Martin Luther King to covering Castro in the mountains of Cuba before the revolution, to many other places. My mother traveled around the world. So this is for my mother, my late mother, for giving me the courage to be who I was, whatever that would be. Kind of like Cher. She was a little worried about me, like Cher was worried for her child. She loved her child, but she was worried. My mother was like that, but as soon as I burst out of the closet, she supported me endlessly, including helping me get my first job in the gay newspaper world. I thank all my friends who have to come to these award things and think I've had enough. I think I've had enough. This is my 30th year in LGBT media, and it is quite an honor. As Lisa said, we don't know where we're going to be in 10 years, so it's wonderful to be honored now. It's particularly an honor to be here with NLGJA. I've covered NLGJA since it was first founded by Leroy Aarons, and at the time, I want to say two things about NLGJA. One is that for LGBT media in the early years of NLGJA, we were not welcome. They didn't think that we were the same. I don't think it was necessarily meant as an insult, but it felt that way. That LGBT media were not quite mainstream media. We weren't equals. And that slowly changed over the years. And 10 years ago, they started the LGBT Media Summit as that gesture of showing that we were the same. And that meant an immense amount to me as an alternative, quote-unquote, alternative journalist, to be with my peers in the same conference. And the other thing I would say about NLGJA, and I think with NLGJA, the one thing that the national LGBT community doesn't understand is that it is probably one of the most important organizations to have affected change for our movement behind the scenes. There are many other organizations that are in the limelight a lot because they are activists and they're political and that's their role. But NLGJA behind the scenes has influenced change immensely since what Leroy Aarons did 25 years ago. 25 years ago, when I came out in 1984 of journalism school, my journalism professor said, "No way can you be openly gay and be in journalism." I think at that point in 84, Randy Schultz was really one of the handful of openly gay journalists around the country in 1984. So I knew that was not a career I could make. I'm really grateful I didn't try. I would never have fit in whether I was gay or not in the mainstream. But within a few years of that 1984 tipping point, NLGJA was founded. And it has, obviously hundreds and thousands of journalists came out in that interim, and the effect in the newsrooms on how we were covered as a community, how Matthew Shepard's murder was covered as a community, how AIDS was covered, was forever changed by changing the newsrooms. So to get this award tonight, I know that is in that amazing legacy of what Leroy wanted to happen, and I thank Jen and everybody else from NLGJA for making LGBT community newspapers feel welcome and part, and thank you for this.